And a good morning to you all, and welcome to the starting lineup. Great to have you with us on an absolutely beautiful Friday in the Ozarks. Ned Reynolds joined by
Scott Puryear.
And for the next 2 hours, we are right here talking sports and whatever. Like to hear from you at 417, area code, of course, 447-1021. That's the phone or the text, whichever you prefer. Same number to call or text, 447-1021. Starting lineup brought to you by Play the Game Sports in the Fremont Shopping Center, Battlefield in Fremont, Springfield. Great weekend. Of course, any day is a great day to stop down there at Play the Game Sports and make some deals on all of the sports equipment you could possibly want. It's all there, all your choices, plus the uniforms, plus so forth and so on.
Rainy days, if you're a golfer, great time to go in and look at the golf equipment. You know, they've got a ton of used clubs, and you know, we all know that as golfers, our stuff just quits working at some point. You know, it's the club's fault, and so you can go ahead and find a new buddy. Exactly.
Now, they also do some repairing of the handles and things like that. They do,
yeah, the grips. They'll redo your grips for you, and if you need a club reshafted, if you were a Ned Reynolds temper tantrum recent, I guess, partaker, then maybe you need to go in and see Jeff and see if you can get a new shaft put in that driver you just snapped over a rock or a concrete paddle.
And restringing of tennis rackets.
Yeah.
They'll also do that.
Do they? I don't know if they do that anymore.
Well, they did. They did it once.
They did. I don't know that anybody even plays tennis anymore, so I don't know why you would have to I mean, tennis is like...
I beg your pardon.
Which
there
sport
are
is...
people who play tennis.
Which sport... excuse me. Which sport is more dead right now, boxing or tennis?
That's a good debate.
Yeah. I mean, that you know, you think about the things 20, 25, 30 years ago, like in our area, fast pitch softball was huge. Gone. Nationally, boxing and tennis. You know, it's UFC now for the kids who want to watch that. And
I don't understand the appeal about that. Well, we can get into that debate a little bit later on. But I was a boxing fan, but I'm not a UFC fan. All right, that's beside the point. Play it against sports, folks. Stop down and see them. Citizens Bank of Rogersville with two locales, two routes is what they call them. They're actually branches, well, whichever. One is located adjacent to Highland Springs, and the other is in Rogersville itself. By Swing Right Golf at the lower end of Campbell Avenue, a little bit north of Nixa, and you will find Swing Right Golf and a great opportunity, folks, and have a lot of fun. And Marshfield Chevrolet at the I-44 exit, a couple of left turns, and you're there at Marshfield Chevrolet. What do we have today?
Our lineup today, 7:35-ish. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, going to join us. Probably about the last dead day for trying to talk anything sports for a while as we start moving closer to football and all the training camp news. But high schools, a lot of camps going on and stuff, and they'll be starting their drills here in no time. But scoreboard guy at 7:35. 8 o'clock, Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest. We'll give you a little preview on Chiefs training camp. Some of the storylines to watch in St. Joe. I believe the Chiefs report by next Tuesday, first practice next Wednesday for the opening in St. Joseph there. And then 8:30, Keiran Govan, the outstanding D-back at Republic High School that has committed to the University of Missouri to play for Drinkowitz up there. He'll be joining us at 8:30 to talk about his senior year. And that's a kid that it's kind of interesting, and we'll get into this with him, but coming out of the football season, you know, he was a very good player, but there weren't a lot of colleges on him. And then all of a sudden his recruitment just blew up in kind of the end of February or March. I think from what I was able to gather, Iowa State was the first school to offer him. And once Iowa State, who's the new coach there? Was that the one that came from?
He came over, oh gosh.
One of the good 1AA programs,
it
right?
Was, yeah.
Yeah, and but he's notorious for finding diamonds in the rough.
North Dakota or North Dakota?
I'm looking right now while we talk. But he notorious for finding, you know, hidden gems. Jimmy Rogers is the head coach, and Washington State. But I think he went to Washington State from South Dakota State. That's right. South Dakota State to Washington State to Iowa State.
Well, he wasn't at South Dakota State very long then.
No, he 15-0 and national championship in 2023 before he went to Washington State. But anyway, he's a guy that's noted for being able to find guys and develop them. Well, when he offered, all of a sudden the floodgates opened, and all these other schools started coming in, and ultimately Keiran picked Mizzou for his destination, and will apparently sign on the dotted line when it comes up here in late November. But he'll be joining us at 8:30. We'll talk about Rep Mo football and his career and go from there.
You're going to have to help me out here as we get to the top stories or the starting five here. Have we had on the air at all in the last, if so, I don't remember it, the Travis Vokalek's not going to play anymore?
We haven't. I saw, he'd kind of faded because of the injuries. He'd kind of faded off the radar anyway, but I think he's decided that that's enough, at 25 and going on with life.
Well, it's my fault because I heard about it about 2 weeks ago that he was going to retire, but I think what he did now is sign the official retirement papers, and that's too bad because not too bad for him, but the fact is a really good football player, and his neck injury was such that doctors said you better not do it again.
Yeah, and a lot of those now guys are, saying, hey, it's not worth it. I want to be able to walk and
Sure.
have all my senses by the time I'm 50. And especially those guys that are around that age now, a lot of them would probably say, you know what, I probably should have got out 3 or 4 years before I did, or at least. So anyway, that's our lineup. And, of course, we get into our starting five. I was listening to the show, as I do each morning on the way in, the Wiesen show, and they were talking Chiefs there late, but right before that segment on Texas, did you hear any of that while you were sitting in here?
No, I did not.
I don't know how they manage this, but Texas has a schedule where they only play one true road game before the month of November.
I did hear that. Yeah,
How do you do that?
Well, of course, they play several of them afterwards, including their final game at Texas A&M.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to go there.
I think they go to LSU in November.
It's what's known as, of course, they're willing to. They have the money to pay people to come in there and play. Of course, most of their competitions, SEC, and so forth. But I tell you, when you're a big time school and you can invite somebody in to play, they'll do it.
Well, and this is my OU bias playing, but from the get go, when those two have come into the league, I think the SEC has done everything they can to make Texas a thing. Schedule wise, I mean, you look at their first 2 years in the league. OU had a brutal schedule with who they were tasked to play. Texas, not so much, and they went through that, and of course that was. At the time, if you remember when they went to the SEC, weren't they coming off the what was the joke? Tom Herman guy. They were just okay, and
they were not the Texas that we were accustomed to.
And then Sark gets there and builds them up, and he's done a tremendous job. But the stars are aligned that if Texas is ever going to win it, it should be this year because you got Arch, you got Cam Coleman, the receiver. Everything is in your favor.
Who did they open with, do you know?
I think Texas State. But see, they've got Ohio State coming in week 2.
The Buckeyes are on the road to Austin. Let me ask you a quick geographic question now. Austin and Norman, Oklahoma. Are they equidistant to Dallas?
I think it's close. I think they're both an hour and a half to in that range.
But they alternate home games.
They do. Well, yeah, the host team and which sideline and all that stuff too. And I wanted to find their schedule because it is Texas State and it's Ohio State. And but yeah, they go to Mizzou on November 7th, and that'll be their second true road game of the year.
What's their first one?
Ole
Miss or somebody like that?
That they go to Tennessee on September 26th, it looks like. And they've got Texas State, then Ohio State comes in on September 12th. You talk about, college football has done a great job of kind of separating out their schedule where you got, and that's why it's so popular, is you got marquee games just about every weekend. I mean, that second weekend, Ohio State, Texas, on a Saturday night. That's going to be a ratings bonanza.
And that is September the
12th.
12th. I think the Bears are home that night.
Yeah, and then the next week, you've got Ole Miss and LSU. Well, people are going to tune into that, too. It just seems like college football does a great job of saying, okay, let's don't double up these two games at this time on that night. Let's move these around a little bit. But anyway, I thought it was interesting that Texas, one true road game before they go to Mizzou on November 7th, and that's a trip to Tennessee on September 26th.
And over after the Tennessee road trip, who are the home games they have?
They've got the Red River rivalry October 10th, which of course I think both teams have a bye going into that, which is great. They've got Ole Miss coming in on the 17th. Florida comes to Texas. Ole Miss comes to Texas on the 24th. Mississippi State on the 31st. So back-to-back-to-back conference home games Texas, Oklahoma sometimes is a home game. Well, they're about equal there. Yeah, so it's set up to where if they can beat Ohio State at home on that September 12th, I think they're in a very good situation to maybe at least make the playoff this year.
Oh, they'll make the playoffs, yeah.
Is it kind of funny how we've cooled on Arch Manning and his?
Well, he's never really gained the headlines by doing anything.
Well, he's gained the headlines. You're right. He just hadn't done anything.
Wrong reasons.
And and I get it. I mean, his name's Manning. And that's gonna with Peyton and Eli and the uncles and the grandpa Arch and all that's gonna come, but. It's kind of like it's weird, but Texas might even be under the radar a little bit this year. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I do agree.
Yeah.
But they don't sell them short, though. I like Sark. He's a very good coach. Comes from a coaching family. Sarkisian family's been around forever. And indeed, I think the guy has probably a pretty good game plan. Does he have the horses to carry it through? We'll see.
Well, yeah, and they bought them. They bought the horses this year. And the big one is that Cam Coleman, the wide receiver, who is – I want to say he's making $7 or $8 million this year to come play for Texas. It's going to be tough for him to go to the NFL and take a pay cut.
Which it happens.
Yeah, but I think he'll be the consensus number one receiver in the draft the next year. Somebody's getting to go because I don't know if you watched him with Auburn. The poor guy had to suffer through a Jackson Arnold season where the ball's not anywhere close to him on a lot of the pass plays. But the kid is dynamic, and so. Our starting five top stories. I did see somewhere where they said it was the slowest news day of the year. Only baseball, pretty much. Not completely true, but baseball did take center stage. And the Cardinals had their makeup game of a rainout on June 25th. The Diamondbacks stopped in. I didn't see the attendance. What did they have?
I'm going to tell you, that's a big surprise to me because there was a pretty good, I don't know what the figure was, but there were people in the stands, and it was a pretty good turnout. I would guess, judging from the way they took the panoramic shot, maybe 26,000.
Really?
Yeah, on a late afternoon, a
4:15 start on a makeup game. Wow. I think Matt Gifford probably spent the week calling his friends and said, "Hey, come over. We got seats. Come
well,
see us."
That could be, but there were people in the outfield too for this one. Yeah. They didn't leave very happy, but they were there nonetheless.
Cardinals lose 10-6 in this one. Diamondbacks, again, were on their way to D.C. to play the Nationals this weekend. They squeezed this game in. Usually when you do that and both teams are mad about playing, you get a 1-0 or 2-0 game, but this was different. Cardinals made an interesting 4 runs in the ninth.
Well, Cardinals actually had the lead.
They led 2-0, but then it got away, and they were down 10-2 at one point, and get 4 in the ninth to try to make it interesting there. But, Cardinals jump up top 2-0 in the first against Brandon Pfaadt. The undeniable Tyler Locklear, 3 hits and a home run. You just can't stop Tyler Locklear. I don't even know who he is, to be honest with you. But it's Heather's other son. The other one's a quarterback at Missouri State now. So Michael McGreevy was not very good once. He was good early, and then they kind of got to him. 4 runs on 7 hits in his 6 1/3 innings. So Cardinals fall. Do they list their starter for tonight against the Reds? They do. Dustin May against. This may be a very big game for Dustin May. Yeah, Rhett Lauder for the Reds. This may be May's last start as a Cardinal. You never know with the trade deadline coming up. By August 3rd is the deadline. Cardinals have now lost 11 of their last 16. And, you kind of thought this might be the start they would get off to, but they defied that, and now you're kind of starting to see a little bit of the just weaknesses. Like Bob Nightingale said a couple of weeks ago, eventually the lack of pitching strength, not they're poor pitchers, but the lack of strength in the rotation and their bullpen is going to catch up with them. This is a Reds team that perennially underachieves coming in this weekend. Cardinals are in a little bit of a slide this weekend, and then the Cubs coming in early next weekend will define, I think, a lot of the Cardinals' wild card hopes and what I don't think there's any doubt they approach the deadline as sellers of veterans, not good young guys, but anybody they can get prospects for, like a Dustin May, like a Lars Nootbaar. I think they're going to deal them and take in what they can get. I thought it was interesting. Ivan Herrera sat out for the first time yesterday in 101 games. Yeah, I think he's a little banged up. Well, and I also it was probably also by design. They thought they were going to have a day off, and that's right. Yeah, but 101 consecutive starts for Herrera there. And of course, a lot of them now are at DH. which doesn't tax the body as much. But interesting to see him.
What they did was they put Blaze Jordan over at first base, and then Fermin played third for them.
Let's get the Royals and Springfield Cardinals, and we'll go to break. But the Royals opened the 4-game series in Detroit with a 4-3 loss. James Outman with a home run to help the Tigers get back in it. And then Dylan Dingler, a single to get the lead in the 8th. Detroit's won 14 of 19 now, and that's a team that if there's any team in baseball right now that's confused about what they're going to do on the trade deadline, it's the Tigers, because they were so awful early. They were the favorite going into the AL Central. And then now all of a sudden here they are right there in the hunt. I think they're 4 games out the wild card, 6 back in a very mediocre division with 2 months and some change left to play. Tariq Skubal, he may make his last start in Detroit tonight.
I just can't believe the Tigers will sell him.
I can't. Well, and if you think about it, though, do you want to get something for him? Because you probably can't afford him in the offseason. So do you just let him walk and just take your compensatory draft pick or whatever you get now? Or do you try to get a good young arm and maybe a position player that you're going to have for the next 4 or 5 years? I mean, it's a dilemma for him. And, he hasn't been Tariq Skubal as much as he's been in the past.
No, but he's had such a great start to his career and so forth and so on. So he's plateaued a little bit, but still has a lot of ability.
And he has said himself, and of course he's going to say this, that he wants to stay in Detroit for the rest of this season, help them try to get back in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where this turns out. But, Royals and Tigers game 2 tonight in Detroit. Interesting story out of Kansas City. The other day when Salvi hit his 317th homer to tie George Brett for the all-time franchise home run record, there was a fan that went into the fountains to get the ball. And got arrested, and I guess it says clearly on the Royals website that if you go into the fountains, you're out of here, and you're going to jail. And they took his ball away, though, too. So
they took the ball?
Yeah, the guy went in there, got the ball, and they took him to jail and took the ball. And
he was probably going to give it back.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and Salvi came out and made a plea to the Kansas City police to let him go. And he said, heck, I probably would have gone in and tried to get it, too, if it were me, and stuff, too. So I'm hoping that, the Royals have the ball then if they took it away from him, but I'm thinking maybe they'll give Salvi the ball, and maybe Salvi gives the guy the ball. Who knows?
Who knows?
But anyway, interesting that you don't go in the fountains at Kansas City. That's one of the no-nos.
Unless it's 100 degrees.
And you need to there. So Springfield Cardinals, they get a win last night. 9th inning homer from Jesus Baez extends it to the 10th inning. They get to win in extra innings 5-4. Baez has hit 9 homers since he came up. One Ben Cho, the other guy that came up at the same time, has hit 10. So you talk about a couple of young guys that got promoted that have taken advantage of it in the last month. It's those two. And so the Cardinals take their first win out of the 3 games down there. They snap a little 3-game skid that they were on. Finish up the series tonight, tomorrow, and Sunday in Springdale. Come back home Monday on a day off, and then Tuesday, Wichita's in town next week. Springfield now 14-10 in the second half, back into a tie with Tulsa for the Texas League North lead, and 45-47 overall. Let's take a break.
All righty, this is the starting lineup. Back in a second. And we are very pleased to have you with us on the starting lineup. Ed Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
Let's continue with the starting 5.
Some other stories all across the board here. The PGA Tour has the 3M Open this week in the Detroit area. Scotty Scheffler is playing, and we don't know why.
I think I do know why. Because he's in a slump. And he wants, you have the FedEx competition coming up, and it'll begin on August 15th. He wants to prove to himself that this is just a slump, that he's not making any kind of critical errors. That's my summation. Otherwise, there is no reason for him to be playing in this.
Yeah, $8.8 million purse, far below what the big dogs usually play for. But he goes out and shoots a 6-under. Ben Coles shoots 9 under par 62 to grab the first round lead. Trio of guys at -7, including Gary Woodland. Scotty's sitting there at 6 under, so we'll see if obviously going to make the cut, but can Scotty get things right with his putter? It looked pretty good yesterday.
Flip-flopping times in this one, too. Scheffler played yesterday in the morning, so he's an afternoon player this time, and Coles and the rest of those front runners are probably going to be this morning round.
NFL note, Tyreek Hill, who doesn't have a team, there's maybe a reason. He says he still has no power in his surgically repaired left knee. At the big injury last year, knocked him out for the year. Can't push off, can't get any up to speed quickly, and so that's a problem for a guy who relies on speed.
Boy, and Tyreek Hill of all people, gracious.
Yeah. We'll ask Matt Derrick this at 8:00, but and when Mitch and Dana were here Monday night, I think it was Dana that said maybe the best position group room on the roster was the wide receiver room. I think he said that. I still think they could use another veteran body in there. I wonder if Hill could get back to speed. It's not going to cost you much, I don't think, because unless I don't know how that works. Do they have to eat? Well, he's done with the Dolphins, right? His contract
is over with them.
Yeah,
yes.
So I don't know how that works, but
Would the Chiefs pay him anything? Did they absorb some of his contract when he left?
When they traded him,
yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to go back and look at the story on that. But anyway, there's a guy out there, and I think Deebo Samuel may still be out there. I don't think Stephon Diggs has landed anywhere either.
That's not.
And then, of course, the guy that has basically talked his way out of the league, Brandon Ayuk. My gosh, that guy! You talk about a guy that just needs to shut up and stay off social media. He would be Exhibit A there.
Some guys can't.
Yeah. NASCAR this week is in Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400 on Sunday.
Can I interrupt?
Yeah.
You want to talk about Mendoza signing this huge contract?
We can, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead with the race.
Oh, okay, yeah. What do you get? 50-some million over 4 years.
$57,200,000.
Yeah, which when you're the number one overall pick, you're going to get that, I think.
What they've done, there's a limit to what the rookies can make under NFL rules, and they've raised that limit since the salary cap was boosted up to about $300 million per team. Then they raised the rookie limit, and he's right at the limit. That's $57,200,000, $38 million fully guaranteed signing bonus. Holy smokes.
Yeah, but that's kind of where we are now. Regardless, the number one pick's going to make bank on that, and that's why there's such a flurry for guys trying to get to number one and have their agents do all the posturing. There's a payday coming. I think the big question with him is how soon does he see the field? Because, they brought Kirk Cousins in, veteran presence to kind of let Mendoza sit back and watch and learn. And how long does that take, you think? Is it mid-season? Is it 4 games in?
Paying him that amount of money, and I don't know what the Raiders' financial situation is. I assume it's all right. But I would think that they put him in sometime, let him get in the washout games, either blowouts or whatever the case might be, let him take a few snaps. He may, during the exhibition games, see some, but I would suspect that Cousins will be in. There's another quarterback in there, too, who they have, a third one. Of course, they have Jacob Clark from the Bears, who I really think should make the team, or at least in the taxi squad.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those two, though, Cousins or Mendoza. If Cousins went down, I think that
I could remember that.
Mendoza would get the trial by fire real quickly there, because I think the Raiders are one of those teams that they've got enough young talent that they could surprise and maybe even push for a wild card, but being in a division with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Broncos doesn't help.
That's exactly right.
Yeah,
the division's pretty good.
You got to climb over 3 teams that expect to be in the playoffs and be in contention for a Super Bowl bid. All 3 of those that we mentioned in the West. So, a couple other notes: Diego Pavia released by the Ravens before training camp starts. The former Vandy quarterback and Heisman finalist, and so he had, a lot of speculation on whether he'll get picked up by somebody else here before training camp. So we'll see. Bad news in Carolina's camp. They lose outside linebacker Nick Scorton. Goes down with a right knee injury that was, they believe, season-ending there. He was a big part of their defense, a good young defense, and they were counting on him to be that rush linebacker type. Went down on a wet field late in practice Thursday during team drills.
Oh, that's no good.
Yeah, and
it's Aiden O'Connell.
He's one of those guys that, Aiden's here. If he's on your roster, break glass if necessary, and hope you don't have to break glass. What else? The Protect College Sports Act. It sounds like they're not going to get to it in time to do anything with it in terms of a vote. this summer because of midterm elections and everything else, and they're on the clock next month when it all shuts down before the midterms. So it looks like we're going to have to wait a year for any kind of
would
help
it be
coming.
A year, or would they the November elections coming up when that's all decided? Would something perhaps take place in January, perhaps?
When do they all come back?
I think probably sometime after the Christmas holidays,
Yeah.
which would be maybe late January.
So your best bet would be next season, probably.
Next season.
If that early, yeah. And so Keith Law has released his latest top 100 prospects in the minors, and there's some local guys, local affiliates represented there. The Royals have a really good young pitcher. He's 18 years old, Churio, Kendry Churio.
Is he a relation to the player on the Brewers?
I don't know. It doesn't seem like that. Maybe that's a fairly common name.
Might be.
Yeah, but like Smith or Jones. But anyway, he's number 23 on the latest list of top 100 prospects. Reniel Rodriguez, the Springfield Cardinals catcher, number 25, and Liam Doyle, number 27. With Doyle, you look at the numbers; they're not great. You see the talent there. I wonder at what point he makes that leap and things start getting a whole lot better numbers-wise, too.
He's got to prove himself first, and, of course, went down here in the minors. He's working on a number of pitches and so forth. His record isn't very good, and he has been hit hard. But, again, well, yes, you'd want to go out and win, of course, but you also want to be able to develop your repertoire of pitches, and that's what he obviously has been doing here. How much and how effective that is, it has not been with a good record. But we'll see. He's probably going to mature into a pretty good pitcher.
Well, and I would think he's got to go to Memphis before he even sniffs St. Louis because you got Quinn Matthews throwing really well in the last month and a half, and he would be the next guy that gets a chance. I think if they can deal May in the next week, which I think they will, then I think Matthews comes up and he gets that opportunity. The top 5, according to Keith Law, Cade Anderson. We talked about him a lot 2 or 3 weeks ago. He's with the Arkansas Travelers for now. He's a Mariners prospect. He's the number 1 overall prospect. He jumped up, replaced Jesus Madej. We talked about him with Max Gifford, that calls the Biloxi AA games down there, and he's a Brewers prospect. Jesus Madej, number 2. Shortstop. Number 3, Leo DeVries, shortstop for the Athletics. Number 4, Franklin Arias, shortstop with the Red Sox. There's a shortstop theme here. And then Theo Gillen, outfielder with the Tampa Bay Rays, number 5. And so and the other guy we talked about, Ryan Sloan with the Travelers, he's number 8. So you've got 2 pitchers from the Mariners in the top 10. That bodes well for their future.
Seattle is they're coming on now. They'll be all right.
Yeah. So, all right, let's take a timeout and let's get with Scoreboard Guy. You got something else?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take a real quick trip, and as fast as I am, I should be back. But
yeah, we'll see you at 9. So,
back in a second on the starting lineup. And the starting lineup brought to you by Play It Again Sports, by Citizens Bank of Rogersville, by Swing Right Golf, and by Marshfield Chevrolet. Ned Reynolds along with
Scott Puryear.
And a special guest.
Special guest is our usual Friday guest in this time slot, 7:30 issues. We welcome in Scoreboard Guy Guy Newcomb in the calm before the storm. Hopefully by the next week or two, we'll have lots of high school sports gearing up to talk about. Practices beginning. Guy, good morning.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. How are you guys?
We're doing great. Thank you. I know that, we had Chuck Hepla on yesterday, and he was talking about Evangel Team Camp. Is that a relatively new thing over there for them, or have they had one for a few years?
It probably goes back at least a decade. I know Southwest Baptist hosts one. Branson High School has always hosted one. Theirs is coming up this week. I know I talked to Coach Forrest there at Kickapoo, and that's where they're going, just down to Branson. Northwest Missouri State hosts a big one, but theirs is back in June. Talked with the Maryville coach about that this week. But, there are several camps going on, but it's going to be hot next week. A lot of them are probably wishing it was this week that they had them, because next week it's the water table is so high, it's just going to be a sauna everywhere you go.
Ned, I found it interesting that, a Misha that used to not even let baseball teams coach their kids in the summer, and now with basketball, they've got a window that they can do, all the team camps and work with their own guys, and even football now, because I think Chuck said yesterday they're in shells, some of them, and some actually have full gear on, don't they?
Times have changed. I equate a lot of it to when I was a schoolboy, and you did not play any fully organized, we'll use football as the example, until your fall drills began, which was usually, and of course this is a much different schedule, but usually very late in August or early September, because the first games were usually the third week in September. But now, my gosh, you can have the 7-on-7 drills, and you can have them early and have camps like this going on. Now, there were camps back then, but they weren't anywhere near as well organized as they are now.
Guy, do you think it's almost mandatory, almost a FOMO for these high school teams that if they don't go, they feel like they're not getting the reps that everybody else is getting?
Oh, I guarantee you. There's a lot of, especially now with the specialized offenses that you have with, and Ned mentioned the 7-on-7. There's a lot of those passing camps going on. And you can go out here every morning at the Bolivar High School, and you can look out in the parking lot and see guys running. Mm-hmm. That doesn't fall into that 25 days of contact because there's no football. Yeah. They can lift weights, they can run, they can do all those things which are not supposed to be football specific, and it doesn't count as their 25 days of contact. With baseball, it's kind of hard to do anything without having a ball and a glove and a bat.
Yeah. I wonder who the first creative coach, if Lane Kiffin were a high school coach in our area, he'd have his guys out there with a soccer ball and running reps and would say, well, there's no football. It's a football, not a football, but we're starting to get a feel now. I think previews will start coming out, and Chris Parker will come out of his 1 month hibernation, and the ozone previews will start rolling pretty soon. Who are we thinking in the area that are going to be the big dogs to watch? It should be some preseason polls coming out at some point too, right? Power rankings.
Yeah, I mean you can locally, in Southwest Missouri. I mean Seneca, defending state champion there. Cody Hilburn does such a tremendous job down there at Seneca. Lamar is always going to be in the hunt. Marionville. Peyton Grubb's still there at Marionville. They're always going to be in the hunt there as well. And then Nixa. That you think about, you lose a Jackson Cantwell, but they're probably most important person on the roster from a year ago is coming back in Adam McKnight.
Yeah, and I think, too, that they lost the running back that went to Southern Illinois, but, Jax Adams, a guy that will be a senior, he was kind of that spark for them off the bench, really quick, and it'll be interesting to see if John Perry and the Eagles kind of change their approach a little bit, because they haven't had to throw the ball much, with the leads they built up quickly against people, and they got a quarterback that I think, and Ed, we've talked about, maybe the best prospect we've had come through the area in 2 or 3 decades. Obviously, a Missouri State commit to Casey Woods, so maybe they turn Adam McKnight a little more loose this year.
Yeah, and I'd like to see that. And he's a gutsy kid. I mean, I've enjoyed watching him play. He's got a great arm. His academic knowledge of the game is so good that he can pick things out, read defenses and things like that just from watching him on film. And a lot of that goes back to coaching. He's obviously being coached really well, and the coaches in Southwest Missouri do a tremendous job. Then you've got everybody in Springfield's new except Frank Tristan, at Glendale. And, you don't know what the classifications are going to be yet, and you won't know that. You won't know what class of district you're in until right before you play your first game.
That's odd, isn't it?
It is. A little bit unusual, sure.
Yeah. What do you expect with Coach Voris and Kickapoo now? I mean, they've kind of been, what's the polite word to say here? Just good, wouldn't you say that? Not great, not above average, just kind of good. They win some games, they lose some games. Does Kickapoo get back to being Kickapoo, you think, in the near future?
Yeah, I think so. Coach Voris, he's won everywhere he's went. He's had such tremendous success at Fair Grove. He was assistant coach at Mount Vernon for a while, and I believe also at Marionville. So he's been around. He knows how to get kids. He's going to have to recruit the hallways. Mm-hmm. And not being there last year in the spring trying to get kids out. Of course, he was still teaching at Fair Grove. So it may take him a little bit to get kids out. It may take him a year, once he starts getting in the hallways and walking those hallways. But, Kickapoo, their enrollment's large enough. There's athletes there. It's just getting them out, getting them onto the football field.
Guy, what do you hear about Springfield Central?
I haven't really heard much. Last I heard is that they were planning on having a football team. And that's part of the reason, not specifically to Central, but that you don't get your district assignments until that week one of the football, because you don't know who's going to have football. And what you do is you take the largest 32 enrollments, and they're always Class 6, and your smallest 64 are always Class 1, and the next 64 Class 2, and so on. But if you have a team in Class 1 that drops out, that doesn't have a football team, then somebody from Class 2 is going to take that spot. And Class 5 is the catch-all, so it really doesn't matter that much with Central because they're those odd-number districts anyway. But that's why those are so late. But as far as I know, Central is planning on having a team.
There's also kind of a flip-flop out at Greenfield and Lockwood and places like that between 8-man and your traditional 11-man. I know Greenfield is going back and forth. Do you hear anything more on what permanent position, such as permanence, is in high school football?
As far as Lockwood, I believe they're going to stay at 8-man. They had tremendous success there last year, and Clay Lassiter, who's their superintendent, is also their coach, and he also coached girls basketball as well. But I think Lockwood's going to stay at 8-man, and with regards to 8-man, there's a certain enrollment. If you go over that, as far as numbers, you cannot play 8-man.
Oh, there is a limitation then in numbers. Okay.
Your enrollment numbers.
We talked with John Perry a few weeks ago about the influx of girls flag football and teams that are especially, I think, our area has been a little slower to adapt. I think Nixa and Marshfield are the two here locally. Does anybody else coming into that, do you think, this year? And how far down the road is that before it's a Misha championship as well?
I still think you're looking at 5 or 10 years before that. I think maybe the next school coming in might be something like a Republic with their facilities. I think Republic would be challenged there, maybe even an Ozark coming in. It's going to be in the larger schools, and maybe even a Lebanon, where Lebanon kind of started that physicality, so to speak, on the women's side with wrestling. And then Nixa kind of picked up from there, and then maybe a Willard, Republic. You had a young lady from Republic, who I think finished in the top 7 nationally in a wrestling event, in an AAU event here this past week. So you're going to start to see some of those larger schools where they've gotten these young ladies involved in these physical sports like wrestling, and to an extent soccer even is very physical. We saw that, in the World Cup. And I think that's where you're going to start to see the numbers kind of start to go up. The schools that already have wrestling, hey, let's try this. Let's try this football.
And back to the 8-man question Ned brought up too. Should that be based on enrollment or squad size? Because just because you have a lot of kids in school, like Central's got a lot of kids in school, but they also have a lot of kids that won't even think about playing football.
Scott, that's why I brought it up too, because the football interest apparently is so low. Why can't they play 8-man? Well, there is it enrollment? Guy, is that what it is?
Yes, it's enrollment there with regard. And Central's kind of been handicapped. They've got that academic program where a third of those students are involved in that. They've got maybe a third of their kids are ineligible academically, and their longtime coach there would come to the tip-off club and say, "Hey, we're working on being agile, hostile, and eligible."
Was that Gary Hurst by any chance or not?
No, good night. I can't think of his name.
Excuse me.
Was it Lonzo?
No, it was a basketball coach.
Okay.
Yeah. 6 languages.
I'm going to admit that I have never seen an 8-man game. Strategically, what's the big difference between 8-man and 11-man football in Missouri? I know the scores are higher.
Everybody's an eligible receiver.
Yeah.
It's you can throw the ball. You can throw the ball to anybody on the field. You've got 7 eligible receivers, and it's 8-man football. Well, somebody's got to throw it.
Yeah.
So,
is it not a difference in the size of the field too?
No.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. It's a smaller field.
Smaller. I thought so.
It's not 120 yards by 52. It's a little bit smaller than that.
So they have to go out and basically remark their football field.
Yeah, they remark it. If they're playing 8-man, they just do it once a year.
Yeah, that's true. Interesting. What else going on? Dead Week's coming up for these schools. I know these kids love that because a lot of them head to the beach or somewhere tropical and kind of get their last hurrah and their last breath before coming back and getting to the grind.
Yeah, it starts, I believe it's August 3rd through August 9th, that Sunday. And then the 10th, it starts for real. So they've got that. It's a week long, but it's actually 8 days because it runs through that Sunday night. But, that's a time where they can kind of, and coaches as well. I mean, coaches need to recoup. They've been going at it hard all summer long with weight training, workouts, 7-on-7s. There's probably a lot more traveling done during the summer with football than there is during the regular season.
Guy, how about the basketball tournaments, the AAUs and so forth that a lot of these coaches go to, a lot of college coaches go to, and maybe tournament officials and so forth and so on? Are they in progress now?
Those are pretty much over in June. They run that whole month of June. I know Nixa hosts a big one. Bolivar and SBU have hosted a big tournament, so to speak. I think there were 80 teams up here at Bolivar when you count the junior high teams and the boys teams and the girls team. But Bolivar only hosted for the girls side. Coach Archer did that for probably 20 years. He along with David Franska at Morrisville, and I think they had as many as 80, 85 teams up here for that. But those typically they'll run out by the end of June.
Do you know anything about this Monarchs Academy in Kansas City, basketball-wise? I saw somebody posted yesterday, and I don't know if this is accurate, and we can check on it, but that Link Academy is done. And I don't think that's accurate because they're just opening a brand-new gym down there. We had their coach on, the new coach, about a month ago. Now, I know he had to basically replenish an entire roster, but have you heard anything along those lines?
No, I haven't. There have been rumors about Link, being done. The Monarchs Academy, I believe, is Rodney.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And, he, coming out of K-State, of course, they fired their whole basketball staff. Well, he was already in that area. The more kids that are at Rogersville, their grandparents are up there in that area. I believe they both coach at a Christian school there on the Kansas side there in the Kansas City area. So Rodney Perry's up there. They're up there. So I've heard rumors of that coming about, but with regards to that Link folding, I have not heard anything.
Yeah, we'll have to check into that.
We need to get Rod on the air here and find out about what his staff is and so forth and so on.
Yeah, I think he's like director of basketball or something like that in that academy. And, Chris Parker had told me about a month and a half ago, watch out for this, it's the new Link in the area, and that basically they're in that hotbed of basketball in the Kansas City area. They've got the ties to AAU up there, that they're kind of the one. And I'm looking at their website, kcmonarchacademy.org. They've already affiliated with the Jordan brand, which that whole world is all about shoes and shoe companies and who's helping you travel to these EYBL.
On the website, does it give any idea what their location is?
Just Kansas City.
That's all it is.
Yeah, Chris Neff is their head coach, and he's a guy that very successful at Staley back in the day.
Oh yeah, one of my favorite coaches to interview was Coach Neff there at Staley, and that Monarchs, that's something that has been coming about. Like I said, I've heard about it coming up, and there was times last year with the more kids at Rogersville, and of course the kid that moved on went up to Langlam or whatever, however you pronounce that. That maybe they were recruiting them to come up and be a part of that. And of course, you've had, just look at the Kansas City high school athletes that participated in the Final Four this year at the NCAA level. That's a hotbed, for basketball, where it used to be that Chaminade, CBC area there in St. Louis. That's kind of shifted a little bit to that Kansas City area.
Well, what's new on the agenda for Scoreboard Guy and your coverage this season in football?
Well, we're still going to be doing the high school football scoreboard show 9:30 to 11 every night. We try and get on probably 8 or 10 coaches from around the state. They come in and join us, and in order to become a friend of the show, they have to make 3 appearances. So they're all trying to rally to get those 3 appearances, become an official friend of the show. We're kicking around the idea of in September after Labor Day, maybe starting a drive time live sports show. I'm just going to call it The Ride. Kind of your ride home kind of deal, and kind of run through the scores from the night before, what's coming up over the weekend, interview some coaches and maybe some kids, athletes of the week that we've done for, 20 years now. This is 20 years as Scoreboard Guy, and I actually started with you guys back in 2011, so 15 years being on the air during the day.
Time flies, doesn't it, Ned?
Is that right?
How old are you, Ned? If you guys started 20 years ago,
I was 14 when guys started in 2011. So
yeah, and things have changed. And of course, we had your Missouri Milestones guy on that. That was a lot of fun, and led to us having Fred on the other day. We forgot he was coming in, but it worked out great. And I know that Kent's working on that website day by day, isn't he?
Yeah, we are. We're sending out emails almost daily. And we started with basketball, and we found, Misha's got maybe 30 kids on there, that have scored whatever. We're up to about 4,000 kids, and it's gone back to, I got to visit with Jimmy Gummersbach, and 1962 graduate of CBC High School who went over that plateau and actually went to Drake out of high school and transferred here to Missouri State, played basketball and baseball. That was a tremendous interview. I've talked to young ladies who graduated in the 80s, early 80s. We're working on getting the triplets on for McDonald County.
Yeah.
Trying to get all 3 of them together at the same time and get those on. And I've got someone. Actually, you helped me with that, getting in contact with her. And so we're working on things there. We're adding new content with football stats, softball stats. Volleyball's been really good.
Very good, Guy. Well, we appreciate your time, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We will be there.
You betcha.
Guy Newcomb, Scoreboard Guy, visiting with us. Timeout, back in a second. And as Mike Holmes mentioned, home for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals play the Cincinnati Reds tonight. You'll hear the game right here at 102.1. We only have a few seconds. What do we have coming up?
Second hour, we're going to talk Chiefs football here at the top of the hour. Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest, one of our favorite guests to come on and get the inside scoop on what's going on heading into training camp next week. And then at 8:30, Keiran Govan, the outstanding safety at Republic High School, Mizzou Tigers commit. We'll talk to him, get his story coming up at 8:30.
And we do invite your calls or your texts. 447-1021. We'll take our mid-show timeout. Back very shortly.